The meeting of the Township of Hamilton, Monday, June 15th, 2020. Please rise for the flag salute.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, with your permission, can I place a statement on the record?
Please.
I should really do the certification.
We had a situation earlier which occurred that was not recorded or televised, where Mr. Alderman, who is an attorney, and Mr. Bucci, who is subject to an action before you tonight, appeared in the courtroom. This meeting was advertised via Zoom. I was asked by the mayor and the administrator what my opinion was with respect to people being in the audience. And without divulging the attorney-client privilege, I will tell you that to permit one person in to the exclusion of every other one would be an equal protection and due process violation, and perhaps a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act. So what happened was they initially refused to leave, and we sought the assistance of the police department, specifically Lieutenant Olcott, to peacefully and carefully escort them out, and that's what happened. So I just wanted to place that on the record.
Thank you. Rita?
Yes. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City and the Atlantic County Record on January the 15th, 2020. Mr. Kane?
Here.
Mr. Gishard?
Present.
Mr. Kurtz?
Here.
Mr. Patali?
Here.
And Mayor Schenker.
Here. We have a moment of silence for private reflection. Thank you. We're going to start off this evening with a proclamation. Come down here. Ingrid, if you want to come down in front. Yeah, that's right there. Cameras out there, so we're talking to the folks out there. For those of you who don't know, Ingrid Perez is going to retire. She's going to leave us at the end of this month.
Yes, correct.
It's been a long journey. Just a quick couple points. Ingrid was hired in 1992 as a part-time recycling enforcement officer, huh? There you go. We've come a long way. In 1994, she was promoted to full-time position as environmental officer. In 1998, she became the public works supervisor and eventually deputy public works director. After transferring to her role as special project manager in 2013, she was appointed as a fund commissioner. Ingrid has supported our Sustainable Township of Hamilton Green Team and also served as a member of Atlantic County Solid Waste Advisory Council. This is a proclamation from the Township. It says, whereas Ingrid Perez began her career with the Township of Hamilton in 1992, has honorably and faithfully served the Township in many capacities for the last 27 years. And whereas her varied positions over the years have included Recycle Enforcement Officer, Environmental Officer, Deputy Director of Public Works, Special Projects Manager, and JIF Fund Commissioner, and she has been a major contributor to the achievements of the Township's Green Team and the Atlantic County Solid Waste Advisory Council. Whereas after all her success and hard work, Ingrid Perez has decided to retire from her most recent position as Special Projects Manager and Fund Commissioner to enjoy a well-earned retirement that will be marked by more time spent with family and friends. Whereas we sadly accept her decision to retire, but extend to her our most heartfelt appreciation for the job well done. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the Township Committee of Hamilton Township, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, on this day, June 15, 2020, recognize Ingrid Perez. Thank you very much. Yeah, right. You want to say a few words? It's up to you.
Real quick, I want to thank you, the governing body, both former and current, for the opportunities that have been afforded to me here. education-wise, and the opportunity to serve my community. And I just want to also thank all of my coworkers over the years. We've got some wonderful, wonderful people that work here, and we don't do anything successful without a team effort. So I appreciate that a great deal. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
for
Very good. Congratulations. Okay. Here we go. Item 1, addition, deletions of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have 2 additions to the agenda. 7H, a resolution granting municipal clerk with the township administrator the authority to act on behalf of the Township of Hamilton regarding issuance of COVID-19 expansion of premises permits for permits being issued with no special conditions.
So moved. Second.
We also have 8B, resolution terminating the employment of Officer Donald Bucci effective June 12, 2020.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We'll open it up to early public comment on agenda items excluding items listed for public hearings. Lisa?
This is Stuart Alterman. I was going to object and request to speak.
Pardon me, can you say that again?
Yes, this is Stuart Alterman. I used the access code that you just handed me a few moments ago before being thrown out of the courtroom.
Okay,
and I wanted to speak before there was any vote on the removal of my client.
Okay. Floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, here's the story. The story is that the hearing officer is completely wrong. The decision is baseless. It is meritless. It is cherry-picked, rife with falsity by way of the hearing officer and not by my client. In addition, not being able to stand in the courtroom and not being able to be a part of the hearing other than standing outside the municipal building on my cellular phone is a violation of my client's rights. Additionally, the notice that we received was via hand delivery to my client's residence, and I received a letter from Amy Rudley Esquire, the attorney for the town in this particular case. I emailed her back asking how this meeting was going to be held, expecting an answer, and apparently I didn't receive anything at all. I asked if this was going to be a live hearing, 1. 2, I asked if this was going to be remote. I asked if it was going to be Zoom, and I received nothing in exchange. My client received nothing of the sort. Apparently, I learned while I was still in the courtroom that the meeting was noticed for on Thursday night, but that was before any notice that was supplied to us over the weekend. Really, at some point in time, within about a day and a half of this particular meeting. So therefore, I think that it's inappropriate, in fact unlawful, that any vote takes place tonight. And I think it's very unfortunate that my client's rights are being violated under these particular circumstances. Unfortunately, my client did appear and wished to have an opportunity to speak on his own behalf. I did appear and asked to speak on his behalf, but I have to do so standing outside the municipal building again on the cell phone. I don't think that this is a way to run business. I don't think this is a way for government to conduct itself in an open and transparent manner, particularly under these times when people are actually protesting, requesting that government conduct itself in an open and transparent manner. This was not adequate notice under the law, Mr. Sandman. This was not adequate notice under the Rice Notice Act. And certainly, I could have received and I should have received a reply email with instructions as to how this was going to be coordinated, if nothing at all. I did not receive anything by way of reply. Perhaps that was planned. Perhaps that was contemplated by way of providing an email notice over the weekend. So therefore, please take and accept my objection and vacate the vote that has just been conducted at approximately 6 50 this evening on Monday, June 15th, 2020. We certainly had requested other people to attend, other people that are concerned, taxpayers, members of the PBA, members of the press. And unfortunately, we're not able to be properly represented and not properly, weren't able to be properly appear before the council. The hearing officer's decision, again, is replete with mistakes. It has cherry-picked a certain set of facts that lean towards the police department, or it leans towards the chief of police, who is also the internal affairs investigator. It is rife with complete falsehoods. And if given the opportunity, I would be able to explain everything to you. However, standing outside on a cell phone, speaking remotely, not even on video, is certainly not a way to conduct business and not a way to conduct justice and to make sure and facilitate that justice has been had in this particular case. My client's rights have been violated. Our rights have been violated. Please note for the record that we were actually escorted out of the courtroom by Lieutenant Alcott at the request of Mr. Liston. I think that is extremely rude and again, violative of all known rights, and certainly leaves an awful lot of remedies. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak by phone.
Let the record reflect
Mr.
that
Sandman.
it was at your request that you be escorted out of the building. You were asked to leave, and it was at your request that you were escorted out of the building.
Mr. Mayor, may I comment briefly?
Mr. Sandman.
Mr. Alderman, we know that you're counsel for your client, and you just spoke on behalf of your client. And your client was given an opportunity and has the opportunity right now to speak on his own behalf. Will he choose to do so here in this open public meeting?
Well, speaking in an open public meeting while standing on the curb, again, is no way to conduct business. And the opportunity to speak, it's not even by Zoom. We're not even on video. We're speaking over the telephone. It's not as if we asked to speak over the telephone. It's not as if we said, hey, listen, we can't appear. Let us speak by telephone, if nothing for all. We're actually here. We're actually here live in person to make a presentation. So again, we didn't know that we were going to show up tonight, appear, be ready to appear, and respectfully appear, and to be escorted out of the courtroom. So again, this is no way for a council to conduct business. This is no way for elected officials to conduct open, transparent, and otherwise just hearings and allow people to know what's going on. In other words, the taxpayers should be able to understand what's happening. They're undertaking the council's undertaking a drastic step by removing a police officer. Hearing officer's decision is published at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock on a Friday, and all of a sudden there's a rice notice delivered to my client's house on Saturday, where an email is sent to me that this is happening and asking me if I want to appear. Well, yes, I did want to appear. Not by phone standing out on the street corner, not by remote appearance telephonically. And if I was given the opportunity to participate via Zoom, then I would have been set up to do so. And I would have been prepared to do so, sitting at my desk, and my client being with me in order to do so in a professional manner, not, again, standing out on the street corner talking on my cell phone. This is no way to conduct business. In fact, it's disgraceful. Thank you.
Mr. Alderman, you didn't answer my question. Your client is now given the opportunity to speak at this public meeting. Does he choose to do so?
At this point in time, it is fruitless in order to do so.
Well, that is his decision.
Now, it's your decision.
No, it's not. The council's sitting here, the committee's sitting here, and if he wants the opportunity to be heard with respect to actions being taken against him, right now he has the opportunity to do so at this public meeting, which, by the way...
Mr. Sandman.
Hold on,
Mr. Sandman,
I'm talking. Hold on.
Go ahead.
This meeting was advertised consistent with the meetings that have been conducted twice a month for the last 3 months via Zoom. You had the right, he had the right. If you didn't know, that's your fault. But once again, I come back to the point. The point is, we're here, you're there. Does your client want to be heard?
I would note for the record, Mr. Sandman, that from the time that we were thrown out or escorted from the courtroom out onto the curb, that you already had counsel vote to remove my client.
That's not true. It's not true.
I just heard them vote to remove my client.
No, they didn't. They voted to amend the agenda. The vote with respect to your client is an item under personnel, and it's listed as 8B, which we haven't gotten to yet. And you have every right to sit, listen to the dialogue of the committee with respect to that issue, and there's public comment at the end, but right now it's early public comment on agenda items for which there is no hearing. You have that right. You've spoken on behalf of your client. Your client has the right. Your client has the right to do it now.
I will reserve at this point. I will reserve at this point to listen to whatever else is discussed, and then we will revisit my client's right to speak for himself, and certainly I will speak again.
Understand that your right to speak again will be in public comment after the vote is taken. So the council or the committee is affording you one opportunity. It's the last time I'm going to say it. If your client wants to speak on his behalf, he has the floor right now.
Hold on for a minute. I think the actions that's already taken has been taken. We will seek all appropriate remedies in court. Thank you, Mr. Sandman.
That is your right.
Anyone else in the public like to speak?
Yes, I have one thing to say or comment to make. This is Bruce Stroy.
Go ahead.
On this issue, just a point of interest or a point of notice that it doesn't appear, and this may be a technicality, but this was not on the original, and I don't know any of the circumstances surrounding this, but just as a point of public notice, this was not part of a 48-hour notice that is required by law, but it was a late list that was just published today, less than 24 hours before the meeting tonight. And it seems to me that, and I know it's at least in keeping with open business, that if it's an item that couldn't possibly wait until the next meeting, because this is so urgent, I guess there's a fine line or some gray area, but just in listening to what just transpired, this was not a 48-hour notice. This was a late list item. Thank you. That's just a observation on my part. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a comment on that, or we'll just let it go? All right. Anyone else in the public like to speak?
This is Stuart Alterman. I would comment on it. I absolutely
Mr. Alterman,
wholeheartedly
Mr.
agree
Alterman.
with the individual that just spoke.
With all due respect, if you still want to speak, if there's no one else that wants to speak, you can come back and speak. All right? Is there anyone else in the public like to speak? All right, Mr. Alterman, your opportunity is...
Thank you. With whom am I speaking with right now?
Art Shanker, I'm the mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. Mr. Mayor, I agree. Mr. Mayor, members of council. By the way, I never properly introduced myself to Mayor and Council. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Stuart Alterman of Alterman Associates LLC, 8 South Maple Avenue, Marlton, New Jersey. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of my client. My other comments are noted for the record, but for the sake of brevity, I won't restate them. But I do wholeheartedly agree with the individual that just spoke in reference to what's happening here and my client's rights being abridged. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else in the public like to speak?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
A motion and second to close the public portion. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We have nothing under discussions or public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Number 5, introduction of ordinances. Public hearing to be held July 6, 2020. Ordinance 1828, 2020. An ordinance of the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, authorizing and approving the shared services agreement for solid waste collection services by and between the Atlantic County Utility Authority and the Township of Hamilton. Arch, would you like to add?
Yeah, sure.
Tell us
This
a
is
little bit more
this is a joint, basically a shared service agreement where we utilize the Atlantic County Utilities Authority for the purposes of collecting residential trash using toters along with bulk trash. The best part about this contract compared to the existing one with a prior vendor is the fact that bulk waste will be picked up on a regular basis. So when you put your trash out, you can put bulk trash out at the same time, and it can be picked up. We presently and over the last few months have had a major issue with bulk trash because of certain parts of the contract and exercising it was delayed for over a month. And one of the things that we realized during that process was that bulk trash was very important to the community and getting it up and away from people's houses. I mean, it makes it much more convenient for people when you can do it on a regular basis and keep your backyards clean. There is a question that has come up, and I want to get a clarification from Mr. Sandman. On section 3, Bob, it's the second sentence, which reads, businesses and commercial properties are not included and will not be serviced under these ordinance except when specifically directed by the township. Just to be clear, we will provide upon request to residents and to businesses the second toter.
It's a second 96-yard toter at a direct cost to the person who asked for it.
Right.
But it's under the control of the township, and it will be specifically addressed in the contract document.
Yes. Okay.
But it does exclude bulk waste from, large businesses, but businesses in general.
Okay. Very good. So this was kind of brought on. We're in the midst of a contract for our trash collection. And the problem we have with the bulk trash pickup was kind of pushed us to this point, realizing that, some of the things that we had in the past were inadequate. Like our administrator just said, we're going to have a bulk trash pickup every week. If you put bulk trash out with your regular trash, it will be picked up. The other thing that we found out, and one of the problems is, and why we had a problem with the bulk trash, it was blamed on COVID. Which, I can't argue with any company if they don't want to put their workers in harm's way. We really had no leg to stand on in that, but ACUA had no interruption of services during the COVID. It is, from what we can see, a much better service for the township, and the costs are right in the same area. So I think it's a win-win for the township. The money that the township's spending on trash collection goes right back into the county's facilities to make them better, and they will be working to get this up and running by, I believe, September. Is that correct?
October 1 is what we're looking at.
Yes. Okay. So we're introducing this ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 1928-2020.
Second it.
A motion and second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Do we need a roll call vote on this, Bob?
Ordinarily, you don't, but I'd like to have
I
one.
think so, yeah. Rita, could you please?
Sure. Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Schenker?
Absolutely.
All yes and introduced.
Thank you. 6, award of bids, contracts, and change orders. A, resolution authorizing extension of bid 2015-02 Solid Waste Collection Services to Waste Management of New Jersey, Incorporated, for the period of 3 months, July 1, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, not to exceed $205,000. This is in direct result of what we're doing with ACUA. Waste Management will extend the contract until ACUA takes over October 1st.
I'll make that motion. Second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
And Mayor Schenker.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
B, resolution authorizing the purchase of 5 Ford Police Utility Interceptors from Winter Ford of Cherry Hill through the New Jersey State contract. Total price not to exceed $158,060. That would be $31,642 apiece.
I'll move it.
Pretty self-explanatory. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing no questions or comments, Rita, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
And Mayor Schenker.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
C, resolution authorizing acceptance of a proposal from Mazer Consulting PA for the post-construction pavement core services for the 2018 state improvement of West Jersey Avenue Phase 2 bid 2019-03 and authorizing mayor to sign same.
This is.
More on that, please?
Yeah, just real quick. This is only for $2,450. This is, so they can, you have to have an independent engineer do your core sampling under DOT specs, when you do road projects. Basically what we're doing is appointing an independent engineer to examine our other engineer, in accordance with the grant.
Okay.
I'll
Hey,
move
hey, Bob,
6C.
should I accuse myself from this since I do work with Mazer?
Is Pearson involved?
No.
Who is?
I mean, we do work with Mazer quite extensively.
The fact that you do work with
Okay.
them doesn't mean anything, but it's up to you. If you
Just,
want, if you
just
want
checking to make sure.
There's no legal reason for you to recuse yourself,
Okay.
but if you choose to do so, everyone would understand that. And it wouldn't set a precedent.
Yes. We have a motion?
Yes, you do. Mr.
Second.
Gishard.
I'll second it.
Are there any questions or comments? With that, Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Schenker.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. D, resolution to retain legal services of William G. Blaney, Esquire of Blaney Caravan, PC, as special counsel, labor attorney, not to exceed $15,000, and authorize the mayor to sign same.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Schenker.
Yes?
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Consent agenda.
Well, we have items, an additional item on H. If there's no reason to pull that, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through H.
I'll second.
And can you pull G on that?
I'll amend my amendment to.
Sorry.
That's okay. To pull items A through F, exclude G, and H. Wait, G, and then include H.
Okay.
I so change my second.
So we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. G, resolution authorizing the Public Works managerial staff to utilize a township vehicle to respond to emergencies and for township business.
Will they be taking these vehicles home?
That's the purpose of this, is so people who live within the community and who respond 24/7 will be authorized to take vehicles
Okay.
home. And I will tell you from a standpoint of response, when you're sitting down in the middle of a storm as a firefighter, you're in the middle, you need responses out, you need people out, and this allows us to respond quicker to those types of situations.
Okay. So just to be clear, their specific use will be back and forth to work and into an emergency if necessary.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda item G.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. 8, personnel. A, resolution to appoint Omar Wright as a full-time regular laborer at $33,390.87 annually, effective 6/16/20. Must obtain CDL-A within 12 months as a condition of continued employment and reclassification as a truck driver/laborer.
Just for the record, this is not increasing headcount?
No, I don't believe so, right?
This is a temporary position being moved into a full-time position.
Right.
But also assist with the Cove this summer. And we also had a reduction of one position to a laborer from a truck driver, so we're just flip-flopping positions.
Okay.
I'll move 8A.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Rita, can we do a roll call on this, please?
Yes, Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. 8B, resolution terminating employment of Officer Donald Bucci effective June 12th, 2020.
I'll move 8B, as stated, resolution terminating the employment of Donald Bucci effective 12/20.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
What was the effective date?
June 12th.
June 12th, 20.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Can we get a roll call vote on this, Rita?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. Approvals. A, minutes of the June 1st, 2020 regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. B, minutes of June 1st, 2020 executive session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions. Rita, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. C, bills. Bill list total of $805,016.42. Excuse me.
Can we keep it like that?
Yeah.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Can we put a cap on this? Exactly. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions. Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. We move to 10, reports, Mr. Administrator.
Just to make the public aware and everybody that the Cove's ready to go. If you haven't been by there, get a chance to go by there. The new booth is up. They've raked the sand. They got some additional sand in there on the beach side to make sure that it wasn't bothering me out. And otherwise, we're very pleased to have that ready to go and for people to enjoy the summer at the beach.
Great.
Very good.
How are the ticket sales going?
We haven't sold anything yet because we're selling everything there.
So just so everyone's clear, we're selling all the tickets at the Cove this year?
Yes, and just a reminder, last August, there was an ordinance passed for veterans. Well, veterans do get free season, free passes.
Okay.
And obviously active military, but the veterans and active militaries do get free seasonal passes that the committee passed, so.
Okay. And the Cove will be open Saturday, June 20th.
11 a.m., 11 a.m., ready to rock.
Okay. Thank you.
Just for clarification, the seasonal pass for the veteran is not for the veteran and his family, it's just the veteran. Is that
Just the
right?
veteran, yes.
And the other thing I wanted to ask is or point out is that we are not accepting cash for these season tickets, or we are accepting cash?
We're accepting cash.
Okay, cash, all cash, it has to be cash. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. Mr. Solicitor?
I just want to tell you that in the course of negotiating the solid waste management contract and the ordinance, that the folks at the ACUA were extraordinary. They were responsive. They provided me with copies of 4 of the contracts from other towns, gave me people to talk to. The turnaround time was excellent. To get it done in 2 weeks was doing something. So I just want you to know my hat's off to those folks.
Yes, that's very true. Thank you. Anything else? All right, move on to Township Committee. Carl?
Just want to say on this past Saturday, we had a Black Lives Matter. I don't want to call it a protest, march. I want to say it was a gathering. It went very well. It was a lot of people were there. I'm sure it was enlightening to some people. Everybody with the township did a great job. There were absolutely no problems. And I really want to take my hat off to our chief, because something was, I don't want to say he was called out, I guess for lack of a better term. That's kind of, some questions were asked, and he stepped right up and said, and basically, I can't tell you exactly what his words were, but there'll be no racists in our police department, period. And that just, that really rang well with me, and I think with everybody. It was just at the moment, it was perfect, and I think it was very well received, and it meant a lot. And I want to say thank you to the chief for that, and thanks to Public Works for all their hard work. That's it on that. And let's see, Father's Day this weekend. Don't forget about dads. All right. And that's all I have to say. Just Reagan, Maddie, miss you, love you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. John?
I'll just add a little to what Carl said. I agree with everything he mentioned. As a business owner, I have a front window to the park, and I want to tell you that I had concern from some of the other businesses that called asking questions, and I kind of assured them then that organizers did. I spoke to some of them, and they said absolutely that this was going to be a peaceful protest, and that's exactly what happened. The people who spoke spoke very well, and the crowd was orderly, and the presence with the police there, even our police chief, who I don't think likes to speak, spoke, and he did very well. And I think it helped out a lot. So I'm very happy that everything went as well as it did. And that's really all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, John. Charlie?
I'd like to first thank everyone for their hard work. Once again, for bringing to fruition the Cove opening on the 20th. It is a big part of our town, and it's enjoyed by many, and I appreciate that. I want to comment on 7H, which is the outdoor dining permits. I hope that the restaurants take advantage of it. I hope the pub takes advantage of it. I think it adds character. I think it adds being allowed to sit outside. And I hope that they take advantage of it, and we can continue it after the executive order's lifted as a governing body.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is that something they can do to continue this outside dining type of thing?
Well, we would have to make the
Yeah, there'd have to be some type of review under zoning and how we could do it, but it's one of those things that I think that we should examine and kind of encourage to keep our people moving, especially with us. So there might be some extension, and there's definitely going to be an issue with ABC with a permanent extension of premise, but that's we can work with them on that. I mean, our zoning people have worked very well with these people. We're expediting everything that can be done. Rita's office has been exceptional with moving process along. So, I mean, when the businesses want to move, we're ready to help them out.
Right now, they're the ones that are doing it out of necessity.
Yeah.
More so
I can tell you, Charles, that in the borough of Stone Harbor, they passed an ordinance that was effective June 2nd before the June 9th executive order was even signed by the governor, allowing for outdoor service.
Yeah.
So they were kind of ahead of the ball to get these businesses up and moving.
Yeah, I really like the idea, and it could be one positive thing that comes out of what we've been dealing with, as a country. I think it adds a lot of character, and I hope they take advantage of it. Rita, this is one time I hope you get swamped with work. I hope you get a lot of requests. And I know that she will handle them quickly, and I'm confident that the chief will work with the alcohol permits very quickly. So I hope that it's something that they do take advantage of. I do want to comment on, during the interview process, for sergeants and lieutenants and officers, it's clear to me, and it's clear to the mayor, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that our police department is swimming in the same direction. I mean, they are all about community policing. They want to get to know the individuals that they're dealing with in all the neighborhoods. Restarting the bike patrol, Chief, I think it was something that I had asked about, and you were already instituting it, and I appreciate that. And community policing is a big part of helping solve problems and issues before they actually become bigger issues. And I'm confident in our police department that they are all, like as I said, swimming in the same direction, and community policing is on the forefront. I'd also like to wish all the fathers out there, as Carl said, Happy Father's Day. And I'd like to congratulate my son. My son just turned 18 years old, and he enlisted in the Air National Guard.
Very good.
So he will be going away this Sunday for his medical and his testing, and then he's going to have a few weeks of summer, and then he'll be shipped off to Texas for 8 weeks of training, and then 7 weeks of 8 weeks of boot camp, and then 7 weeks of additional training. So happy birthday, Charlie, and I'm really proud of you.
Don't worry, it's a dry heat. It's a dry heat down in Texas.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Thank you, Charlie. All right. Rodney?
Oh, well, let me congratulate Charlie on his son's move. Also, I was happy to hear about that the demonstration went well. It's encouraging to know that there are people that feel passionately enough about the situation to go out and make their feelings known. It's great to hear that our staff responded very well, and that the effort was peaceful and not problematic. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Father's Day, or at least all the fathers a happy Father's Day. That's all I have.
Thank you, Rodney. I'd like to start off with the Cove. This has been a monumental lift to get this done. There was a lot of things that had to go into place, a lot of research that had to be done, and I want to thank everybody involved, Public Works, all the ladies in the office, and Arch, our administrator, for doing this. It's very important to the public that be open, and thank God it's this Saturday, and we can hopefully, as time goes on, we can lift some of these things that we have to do, but as of right now, the way it's going to operate is the way it's going to operate until the governor sees fit to change things. I also want to agree with Bob, ICUA, that was the one thing when they came in and they gave us a presentation. They were very, very knowledgeable, very good, very quick to respond. And really the thing that was probably the biggest lift for them is getting this up and running by the end of September. And they're going to do it, and they're going to get it done. And with a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work, it'll be a seamless transition. So we'll give you more information as that is coming forward. Our next step after this being approved is actually working on the contract and getting the contract signed so we can move forward with this. I'd also like to comment on the demonstration that was on Saturday, and the young lady who held it or put it together. Her name is Yana White, and I can't tell you how impressive she is. Her mother and father, Gerald and Nicole, just very good people, raised that girl right, I can tell you that. Her father led the march, And all leading up to, and even the day of the march, he and others were very clear in their announcements and the way they presented this, that this was to be a positive, peaceful demonstration. And I can't tell you how much it reflected in what happened on Saturday. The speakers were fantastic. As Carl said, our chief of police at one point stood up and gave some reassuring words that, we understand, we hear what you're saying. We can only control what happens in this town, and we intend to do that. So I appreciate his involvement in the whole Hamilton Township Police Department for being on board. Some of them fellows were out there on their own time. They didn't have to be there, but they chose to be there, and we appreciate that.
Help from the sheriff's department, too.
Yes, we did have some help from the sheriff's
sorry.
department. We appreciate that. They always lend a hand when needed. So all in all, it was a beautiful day. It was a very positive, uplifting message. Everybody seemed to be on the same page and the same type of direction. So, and I think that's what's important right now with all that's going on in the country, is that we need to get all moving in the same direction. And we can't change history. We can affect the future, and I think that's what Saturday was all about. So thank you for all that was involved, and it went very well. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to the public. Anybody in public like to speak in public comment?
Mr. Mayor, this is Bruce Stry.
Yes. Go ahead, Bruce.
I'd like to, thank you. I'd like to revisit 8B. And I'll make it clear, I know nothing about the substance of the issue, but it's all about public notice. And if I can go back a couple of years, when I served on Township Committee in the early to mid 80s as a minority member, it was not uncommon for Township Committee members, I guess in good faith, but things didn't appear on the agenda, but in committee members' comments at the end, issues would come up and there would be votes taken. And I quickly became objecting to that. And this whole idea of voting on additions or deletions to the agenda, not to take total credit, but it was my idea because I argued that the 48-hour notice was not being adhered to, where committee members would bring it up and a vote would be taken, action would be taken, and there was no mention of it or no proper advertising. I remember at the time I discussed that adding or deleting items at the beginning of the agenda, which is proper. By the way, under the Open Public Meetings Act, but it wouldn't be abused. So, not knowing the fact in this particular case, I would hope that the committee would take a closer look at additions or deletions to the agenda. One common item that comes to my mind are business registration license. And I don't know what the story is, but typically business registration items, which are of course proper, but they are added at the last minute. I don't know why in these cases they couldn't wait for the next meeting. But in this case, the addition to the public, I received an email, and I'm sure everybody else did, at 3:12 this afternoon. So clearly, in this particular case, again, not knowing what the circumstance is, there wasn't 48-hour notice of this, and maybe you can explain not the substance, but the reason that this could not wait until the next meeting when proper notice could be given to all concerned. I think this is a matter that you really need to be careful of when you're adding or deleting, simply in the good faith subject of transparency to the residents and taxpayers. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
I would just say one thing.
Go ahead.
You were threatened tonight by an attorney with litigation. I would advise you not to respond to that comment.
Oh, no.
Not that I disagree or agree with Bruce.
Right.
It has nothing to do with Bruce.
Right. I agree. So we'll move on. Anybody else in the public like to speak?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hey, John Percy, one of the old guys.
Hey, John, how are you?
Well, doing pretty good. I was kind of surprised to see Ingrid on the agenda for retirement. I would just like to congratulate her on a job well done. This is one of the last appointments of the time that I was on the committee, and I knew that she would do a good job. She's done a great job over the years, and I would, on behalf of the folks who were on the committee, then I would just like to congratulate her and wish her well in a well-deserved retirement.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody else in the public like to speak?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public portion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? We have no executive session tonight, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
thank you.
Second.
We
Second.
have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.